the 11th hour. It's the 11th hour in Venezuela. The mass of the Venezuelan people are now armed. They're armed with small arms, they're armed with anti-tank weapons, they're armed with shoulder-borne anti-aircraft weapons, they are armed with artillery, they are armed with RPGs, they are armed with grenades, they are armed with every piece of weaponry that you would need in a guerrilla war, which may very well begin even in the course of this program. As someone famously said, I think Garland Nixon, my good friend from the United States, Venezuela is jungles and mountains with jungles, as well, of course, as the narrow alleyways of Caracas and other towns and cities in Venezuela. It has millions of people now under arms, and they are waiting for a Yankee invasion, which Donald Trump, the peace president, the no new wars president, the man who wanted to talk and negotiate on 8 or was it 12 different wars, the man that was ready to talk to the little rocket man, Kim Jong-un, the man that was able to negotiate with the Ansar Allah armed forces in the Yemen, the man that was ready to talk to Iran is not ready to talk to President Nicolas Maduro. He says he is, but only to tell him that it would be better if he now left the country before President Trump was forced to kill him. The pretext for this imminent invasion of Venezuela is, as I said in my introduction, the thinnest since Adolf Hitler claimed that he was invading Poland because Poland had invaded him. And he had even strewn some corpses on the German border, claiming that they were the victims of Polish aggression. Everybody laughed at that pretext then, but they're not laughing now, because it was the precursor to a global world war, World War II, which left almost 100 million dead and overshadowed the world for most of the time that I have been alive. What's overshadowing us now is the danger not of World War II, but of World War III, which of course will leave no survivors at all. No one will have their lives shadowed by the outcome of World War III. Everyone will be dead. There will be some who will have purchased some subterranean nuclear shelter, but it will not have been worth the money, worth the trouble. Because even if you ever emerged from it, you would emerge to a nuclear winter which will blight all life for all time on the planet Earth. I'm not exaggerating about that, though it seems to me sometimes that people think I am. Well, if I tell you that Venezuela may well have acquired a nuclear weapon in the course of these months that Donald Trump has been threatening it, you'd realize just how dangerous and how close the world would then be, if that turned out to be the case, would then be to a nuclear exchange in the Americas. Russia is a close ally of Venezuela. So is China. So is Iran. And so is the DPRK, North Korea. And it is reported by sources that the DPRK have provided President Maduro and the legitimate government of Venezuela with a nuclear weapon which they may use in defense of their country if Donald Trump invades it. Now, I have no way of knowing the veracity of that story, but I do, of course, know that if they have such a weapon, Venezuela would be entirely legally entitled to use it. Donald Trump's pretext for invading a sovereign country, violating for weeks, if not months, the sovereign waters of that country, illegally declaring a no-fly zone over that country, telling all aircraft not to fly, beginning a series of terrorist attacks against the infrastructure of Venezuela, and openly from the Oval Office, threatening to invade Venezuela, gives Venezuela the absolute right of self-defense with any means necessary. Do people understand that? Do they understand that Venezuela will fight, and that they will fight for years, long after Donald Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize President Machado is installed in the Miraflores? Believe me, the Venezuelans will fight, and their children will fight, and their children will fight, because these are the people of Simon Bolivar. They did not seek to unite Latin America. They did not drive out the Spanish colonizer so that a Yankee colonizer could take their place, so that their oil, their gold, their minerals, their precious things, their precious land and waters can be exploited by Donald Trump's cronies. Are you crazy? You must be, if you think that this is not going to turn into a Latin Vietnam. I've been watching a lot of movies about Vietnam this week. It's true that the United States was able to deal devastating violence on Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos. They were, from the sky, well able to eviscerate millions of human beings, to soak the jungles of Vietnam with chemical weapons and napalm, setting the jungles alight, and the deforestation and the birth defects caused by these chemical weapons still visible in the maternity wards of Vietnam today. It's true. The United States knocked hell out of Vietnam, but Vietnam prevailed. And the United States Armed Forces, and you cannot conquer a country without boots on the ground, suffered 58,000 dead Yankees in Vietnam, hundreds of thousands of wounded physically and mentally, millions of crimes and suicides committed over the rest of the lives of the people who never recovered from being a U.S. soldier in Vietnam. Prepare yourselves for all of that again. I promise you, Donald, I promise you.